If you had to generate $1,000 from scratch over the next 30 days, with no job, no bank loan, and no outside help, how would you pull it off? For many of us, navigating inflation and debt today makes that goal feel mathematically impossible. But by 1930, global markets had already collapsed into a state of total desolation. Unemployment was soaring, and systemic poverty meant that families were being evicted from their homes with no prospect of a next meal. Yet while men in suits stood in bread lines waiting for penny meals, a man named F.C. Minaker published a book called 1,000 Ways to Make $1,000. Releasing a manual on wealth generation while the global economy burned seems tone-deaf, but Minaker held a specific view. He believed that massive economic crashes are irrelevant to the actual ground-level mechanics of making money. To Minaker, generating an income is a strictly mechanical skill. It does not rely on a booming stock market or being born into the right circumstances. It operates on a set of rules that can be learned and executed regardless of the economic climate. A common mental roadblock is the belief that you need a brilliant, original invention to get started. The reality is simpler. Wherever there is an everyday problem, there is a business. Look at your own neighborhood. You likely have elderly neighbors whose families live far away and who struggle to use basic technology. They cannot navigate video calls or mobile payment apps. If you spend 2 hours a week teaching them these skills for a small fee, you have a business with zero overhead. Personal frustrations are lucrative when packaged correctly. In 2005, Phanindra Sama grew frustrated because he could not secure a bus ticket home for the holidays. He took that specific annoyance, mapped out an online solution, and built Redbus, a platform he eventually sold for roughly 800 crore rupees. Many people wait for an office, a staff, and venture capital before they even have a customer. Medicator suggests the opposite: start small, but plan for scale. McDonald's began as a single, highly efficient roadside burger stall, not a global real estate empire. Large enterprises are rarely born fully formed. They are almost always localized solutions to boring, everyday annoyances that have been tested, proven, and gradually expanded. To start without risking bankruptcy, you have to invert the traditional process. You do not build a product and then search for a buyer. You secure the buyer first, and then you build. If you want to launch a meal delivery service, the standard approach is to spend cash outfitting a kitchen. The strategic approach is to text 10 friends offering home-cooked meals for a flat rate. If 5 of them commit, your idea is validated. Only then do you spend a dime on groceries. Once you validate an idea, you must structure it for growth. If you rely entirely on selling your physical labor, you hit a mathematical ceiling. There are only 24 hours in a day, which means your earning potential is strictly capped by your physical presence. You bypass that ceiling by selling expertise. If you provide specific results, like building Excel models or managing accounts for 5 different small businesses simultaneously, you no longer trade hours for wages. You are serving multiple clients without working 5 times the hours. True financial leverage comes from bypassing upfront capital risk and decoupling your income from the physical hours in a day. Keeping a business alive long-term requires a specific focus: the repeat transaction. Look at this scale. Finding a new customer requires 5 times the energy as selling to someone who already trusts you. A smart service provider doesn't just collect a check and disappear. They follow up months later to offer maintenance or related services. This leads to the most important rule of the framework: focus on creating value. When you solve a problem, the financial reward follows as a natural consequence. Consider 2 freelance video editors. The first simply makes the cuts requested. The second editor delivers the file, but also suggests a stronger thumbnail and a different pacing to increase the client's viewership. By improving the client's bottom line, the second editor transforms from a simple service provider into an indispensable asset. Money is a trailing metric of utility. If you tangibly improve someone's life or business, the financial payment simply becomes a natural byproduct of the massive value you provided. It is tempting to look at the current landscape, rising costs, global conflicts, and shifting career paths, and conclude that the deck is stacked against you. But compare our current friction to the men standing in these 1930s breadlines, waiting in the rain for the hope of a single factory shift. The barriers to entry today are negligible compared to the devastation Minaker's original audience was facing. The friction keeping you stalled is rarely a lack of good ideas or a lack of startup capital. The truth is, it is a lack of execution. Waiting for a better economic climate or a more convenient time in your life is a trap. The reality is that perfect moment does not exist. Just pick one of these 6 different frameworks. Step away from the screen, identify a problem in your own community that people will pay to solve, and go validate your new solution out there today.